Dr. Julia Phelps served as the Rotary International Director from 2014 to 2016, and in 2016 and 2017 was a member of the Operations Review Committee. In 2017, Julia was appointed as a trustee of our Rotary Foundation and is currently serving on the Rotary Foundation Stewardship Committee and Executive Committee. She has also served as a member of RI's Membership Committee and Trustee Liaison to the Leadership Development and Training Committee. Julia is also a recipient of the Foundation's Citation for Meritorious Service. Dr. Phelps retired from Massachusetts Department of Education, where she served as the Associate Commissioner for Curriculum and Instruction. She and her husband, Steve, live in Greenland, New Hampshire. Steve is a proud father of two children, Melissa and Stephen. Steve and Julia also are grandparents of Peyton, Zeth, River, Finn, and Nate. And all of their family members are Paul Harris Fellows. So please let us welcome Dr. Julia Phelps.
Thank you so much, Roger. And thank you for those that are sending me messages through the chat room. I'll try not to look at them. My head might get too big for the screen if you keep it up, but I'm really happy to be here. One thing I just want to correct in Roger's introduction is that my term as a trustee ended in June. And now I'm a past trustee, but I'm still working on behalf of the foundation and doing lots of good things for our organization. I'm so happy to be here this morning. This is one of my favorite pets. You know, District 7390, I love coming to visit with you and visit with the members of your district and seeing that beautiful landscape that you have there. 7505, you know, I spent a week in New Jersey one year, and it's one of the things that I talk about a lot is, you know, as a director, you get to go to all the fancy schmancy places, and New Jersey's on that list. And then 7430 and 7450, I've been at your district foundation training seminar for so many years. You're probably glad that my term as trustee ended, so you don't have to invite me back anymore. But it's you know, this area of the Rotary world is one of my favorites. So I'm really happy. And I want to thank PDG Hector for the invitation to be here this morning. I really do feel like I have friends all over this part of the Rotary world. I know all of you have worked really hard to put this program together and make sure that the president-elects are ready for the exciting year that's ahead of them. Okay, so somebody's going to change my screens for me, right? There we go. By now, we all know that the theme for your year as club president is serve to change lives. Yesterday, we had the opportunity to hear President-elect Shaker talk about this and talk about the inspiration and the thought behind that. And what a great theme that it is this year. And I know as president-elect, you're going to find a really creative way to incorporate the thing in everything you do, not just your foundation work, not just your fundraising, but in your membership, outreach, everything. It's just really, it's who we are as Rotarians. We serve. So really, really super theme. I was recently, very good, on a virtual meeting with a past RI president and incoming trustee chair, John Germ. And I heard him say something that I think is really important and something that I want to talk about today and use as an example in my presentation. And what he said was, it's not just the money that's important. It's what the money can do through our foundation. It helps eradicate polio, it helps to increase our impact, and it helps to change lives through our grants. You know, I thought that was really important for a past president and an incoming trustee to say, chair to say, you know, it's not about the money. And he's exactly right. We spend lots of time talking about raising money, and we request money from our club members, from our community. Um, but it's really what we do with that money. And sometimes I think we forget to tell people what it is that we do with all the money that we raise. And Lord knows we raise a lot of money. But I think if we told people our stories and told them what our money did, just like we heard in the promotional pieces about the flags and about Operation Warm, that asking people to support us in whatever way would be so much easier. And so, with that idea in mind, I started pulling together this presentation. And I just really want to show you how the Rotary Foundation has touched me personally. So, these are my stories. People may say, oh, you shouldn't talk about your own club, you shouldn't talk about your own district. But you know what? That's my reality. And that's what I have to share with you and with other folks that I talk to about Rotary. It's very, very personal. So I also thought that in addition to telling my foundation stories, that I would tie this in with our strategic plan. I know that, we're asking club presidents to begin to think about our strategic plan and how you can use the big picture, the big foundation strategic plan from Rotary as the scaffolding or as the infrastructure for your own strategic plan. So I'm going to build my speech around the foundation and our strategic plan. And so that first component of our strategic plan, we talk about expanding our reach in our community and around the world. And what I want to share with you today is a global grant that I was involved with a few years ago, but how it's still having impact around in our district and in the Philippines. So several years ago, District 7930, which is the district that I'm a member of, teamed up with District 3770 in the Philippines for a vocational training team exchange. So this was the very end of the Future Vision pilot. And this was, we were phasing out group study exchange, and in its place, as a global grant, and in its place, putting in these vocational training team. We had not done one of these before, but we wanted to give it a go and see how it would work. We received a request from the Philippines regarding a VTT, a vocational training team. And at that time, they wanted us to focus on the teaching of math and science in the elementary schools. The Philippines was rated, and perhaps still is, one of the lowest performing countries in the international test for science and mathematics. It's called TIMSS is the acronym. And so they were wanting to learn how to better teach science, hands-on science. Now, at that time, I was still working, and I was the Associate Commissioner for Curriculum and Instruction for the state of Massachusetts. And Massachusetts has a really good reputation. And in fact, we were testing as a country, our state was testing as a country on TIMSS, and we were rated like number 7 in the world on our performance as a state. And so we were a really good partner for this team. They sent a small team of Rotarians to us, but prior to them coming to us, we had sent four folks to the Philippines for 21 days, just 3 weeks, 2 Rotarians and 2 professional educators in the area of science from the state of Massachusetts. And their goal was to teach hands-on science. So what are the things that every home would have that they could use to teach science? So our team went, and then a team came to visit us 4 weeks later. And you can see this team in the picture. I'm the one in the orange jacket. And of course, they're all the ones in the navy blue and the scarves and had everything pulled together. 4 teacher educators, all of them elementary educators. And the team leader, the gentleman there, John, was a real estate agent. Now, I'm not sure what that has to do with the teaching of science and mathematics, but he was the team leader, and we were really glad to have him. He has since served as their district governor, and I was able to meet up with him a few years later as well. That first day of the exchange, they came to the Department of Education and spent the day with me. And my staff was able to share with them the standards that the Massachusetts Department of Education set for science education, K through 12. Now, these teachers had never seen standards that said by the end of second grade, we expect students to be able to do this, by fourth grade, this, sixth grade. So we have these little breaks every 2 years, and this is what we expect students to know and to be able to do with that information. We had those in hard copy printouts. I have to tell you, my whole office was wiped out. They took every single one we had. I think they had to buy another suitcase to take them all home. But they were so excited to learn that there were expectations for children and what they should learn and be able to do with that information. That was the very beginning. That was that first day that they were with us. And then fast forward to the end of the month. So it was the very beginning of May, and they spent another day with me in Southern New Hampshire. We went to the Seacoast Science Center. Now, the oceans were not part of their curriculum in the Philippines, but we went to this hands-on Seacoast Science Center, and they learned about how you could build learning centers that were hands-on, that their students could move around their classroom and experience something hands-on. So it gave them some ideas about how they could do that. And then we went to Strawberry Bank, which is, for those of you that have been to Colonial Williamsburg, it's similar to that, only it's not one time period, it's multiple time periods. We went to Strawberry Bank, and there we took time to learn about gardens and gardening from different time periods in the New Hampshire Seacoast. As a result of that, every single one of these teachers went back and started a community garden in their schools. So even though it wasn't what we had necessarily thought it would be, they were able to take these ideas and really make them their own. And when they returned home, which was great. In November of 2015, I had the great opportunity to go to Manila for another Rotary meeting. However, as I was getting the information about this Rotary meeting that was happening in Manila, they were saying, oh, we'll take you to see this and we'll take you to see that. And oh, these falls are beautiful and you need to see this, blah, blah, blah. They wanted to run me all over the country. And every email I would write back and I would say, I really want to go to these classrooms. I'll come back to the Philippines someday and I'll go see all of these sightseeing things, but I really want to see these classrooms. It took about 4 email exchanges before they got the idea that she's not going to budge. She's going to classrooms, whether we take her there or not. And I'm really excited to say, Steve and I got to go to these classrooms, and I have to tell you, it's one of my highlights as Rotarian. The first classroom that we went into was Lorna. She was one of our teachers, and we got to see these children doing hands-on projects with science ideas. So you can see the picture, it's on my left, so I'm assuming it's on your left too. You can see this little boy digging into a bag that had all the things that they were going to need that day for their hands-on science experiment. But I want you to look at their faces. None of them are goofing off or looking around the room. They're all like, what's in the bag? What's he going to pull out? And again, it's that way of engaging these students that really helps them to learn and to know what they're learning and how to apply it. So it takes these sometimes abstract content and makes it very real for them. I love the picture, and I love the fact that these little girls are really, really engaged. And, building on President-elect Shaker's idea about empowering and engaging young girls is really, is really special for me as well. So these little girls are right there, they're not backing down to the boys in the class. And then at the end, they all wanted to have their picture made with us. And so we jumped in and had this class picture made. And again, I will hold on to that memory forever. Then later on that day, we went to another teacher's classroom. We went to Jean's classroom, and you'll see Jean. She's in the Philippines. All the teachers wear a uniform. All the students wear a uniform. Jean's in the pink down there, and I have to tell you, this young woman, what an incredible teacher she is. That particular day, she was teaching a lesson about Newton's laws of motion. And at one point she said, Julia, we've set up the experiment for you to demonstrate to the class how it's done. Now, I'm an educator myself, but I also know my limitations. And I thought, oh my gosh, what if I mess up this experiment? What if it goes haywire? And I'm supposed to be the guest, the big teacher that they've all talked about, and how they've learned so much. And what if this fails for me? So they've got me down here. I'm not exactly sure the law of motion that I was demonstrating to them, but it involved a boiled egg and removing something in the egg falling directly into the glass. And I was scared to death that this egg it was a hard boiled egg. So I wasn't worried about the mess, but I was worried about it not going where it was supposed to go. But as you can see, I was successful. That egg went where it was supposed to go. And I have another picture of myself doing this dance, jumping around the room, because I was so excited that I didn't screw up the experiment. But again, the students, you can see them in the background, totally engaged, watching, eager to learn. And then they got to do this same experiment, each one of them at their desk, along with another experiment that had something to do with balloons. And but again, very hands-on, something that they could afford. These were all public schools in the Philippines that are very, very poor schools. And it really, it was a great day, and what is so exciting about this, and why I just get ramped up and invigorated talking about this particular grant, is that the work of this grant is continuing. All of these teachers have been promoted. So, they have a level of teaching. And so when they came to visit us, one of them was a master teacher. Ellen was a master teacher. All of the other three have been promoted to master teacher. And they have, and in some cases, Jean is now a professional development person, for not just for her school, but for this whole region of the Philippines. So these teachers, the ideas, the concepts, the strategies that they learned here and have taken back to their own schools and to their own classrooms, they're now sharing with other teachers in the Philippines, to the point that the test scores dramatically improved in this part of the Philippines. And it was so significant that the Ministry of Education said to the administrators in this area, what the heck's going on in these schools? And you know what? The Rotarians and the Rotary clubs were able to say, as a result of this grant, here's what these teachers learned, and here's what we're doing that's different. It's not rote memorization, it's hands-on, it's making sense of what we do. And so this grant, which ended in 2013, which I got to see in action in 2015. So here we are 5 years later, and it's still having an impact. That's the kind of sustainability, that's the kind of work that our Rotary Foundation does. While it was an expensive grant to do, it's still having an impact. So that money that we gave years ago is still having an impact in the world right now. Building on another aspect of growing Rotary and our strategic plan, we can look at enhancing participant engagement through a district grant. Now, this is something that we all have available to us through our district. So each district has its own rules for doing this. And I know that your governor and your foundation chair will talk to you about the specifics required for that. But this is a great way to engage Rotarians in your club, and also to attract future Rotarians or past Rotarians, bring them back. This is, these district grants is a great way to do that. We know from the research that when we have a Rotarian that's actively engaged, they stay with us. They go out that back door that Shaker talked about yesterday. They go out that back door when they feel like we're not doing anything. I don't have anything to contribute. I don't know what the heck's going on. That's when we lose them. So one way that you can use our foundation to engage membership is through a district grant. Again, I'm going to talk about my own club in Amesbury, Massachusetts. We have sponsored several projects in collaboration with an organization called Pettingill House. And, this is an organization where they hold a corporate membership in our club. So there are 3 or 4 folks in the organization. We've given one name to Rotary International, but we know that sometimes we'll have all 3 of them, 4 of them at our meetings, sometimes just the one, but they're a corporate member. And we've said to them, what can we do to help you? This is an organization that helps families, and it's primarily single mothers who are trying to get help and relief from physical abuse. And so when there's domestic abuse, substance abuse, homelessness, this is an organization in our community that helps with that. So one year we said to them, as part of our district grant, what is it that we can do to help you? What do you need? What is it, in our case, we're able to get $3,000. We are able to spend $3,000. I mean, we can spend more, but the grant piece is a $3,000 grant. What can we do? What do you need? And the executive director said, when these kids show up in the middle of the night, lots of time they've left everything. So they don't have a computer, they don't have a backpack, they don't have anything to help them get ready for school the next day. So we could use some laptop computers. They said, you know what, we've moved into this new facility and we really need to have a large screen TV for our training. So you know what, that's what we spend our grant money on. We bought them the laptops, we bought them the backpacks for the laptops to fit in. We bought the service plans so that the maintenance, the upkeep, the software would be current, and that these students would be able to continue their education, even though the rest of their life was kind of just thrown up in the air and things were crazy. The schooling piece provided that stability, routine that they needed. So we were able to do that. That led to conversations about other things that these moms say that they need. And this wasn't through a grant, but it was such a great project that I included it here. We did something called birthday bags. These moms told us that they aren't always able to give their children a birthday party. Now, and that's hard to explain to little ones sometimes, mom doesn't have any money, or we don't have a cake mix, we don't have the things that you need. So we put together birthday bags that had cake mix, that had frosting, that had candles, that had favors, that had balloons, that had party hats, that had a tablecloth, had little bags that they could put together little favors to give to the kids that came to their birthday party. We put together 50 of those birthday bags. We did it as one of our meetings one night. Again, we engaged our members right there, right on the spots. So some of us decorated bags, some of us put birthday cards in the bag and said happy birthday from the Rotary Club, and then other people put all the items in the bag. We had a list that makes sure every bag had what it needed to do. And so, again, it was a project that we were able to do during a club meeting. We were engaged, and we know that we impacted the lives of children on their birthday, which is a special day, which we all want to make sure. We've done other things with this for this organization too. They told us in the winter, sometimes kids show up and they don't have pajamas, they don't have socks. So we, again, not with a grant, but another way to engage our club members, we bought pajamas of all sizes, socks, a book, a children's book to promote literacy, and we put together these little emergency pajama bags for kids that show up there. So, these are projects that grew out of some grants, but have continued to engage our membership and keep us saying to this organization, what can we do to help? What is it that we can do to support you and help the members of our community that really need it? A couple of years ago, we were able to reinstate something that the club had done for many years, a bike safety day. And we did this in collaboration with our police department, our local police department. We used grant funding. We bought the helmets for using the grant money, and we bought 4 bicycles, 2 young girl bicycles and 2 young boy bicycles. And so what we were able to do is, for the students that came to Bike Safety Day, we put their name into a drawing, and we drew a name for 1 boy for a bicycle and 1 girl for a bicycle at the end of the day. But this was great collaboration, and we saw a side of some of our members that we didn't know existed during that day. We worked with our police department. They set up a bicycle safety course. And so the students checked in with us. We fitted them. We all learned how to fit a bicycle helmet, which is really important. You don't want the helmet wobbling around. That means if something happens, their brain wobbles with it. So you don't want that to happen. So we learned how to fit the helmet correctly. And then the next station, one of our members and her husband set up a bicycle safety station. So they made sure tires had enough air in them, that the seat was adjusted right, if they had handbrakes, that they worked right. They just did kind of a wellness check for the bicycle for the students before they then went through the course. And then the students moved over to they called it the bicycle rodeo, and they went through this course. And at the end of that, then they got a certificate signed by our club president and the chief of police. And they got a little goodie bag that had pencils, and I think we had a 4-way test coin in there. We had some goodies in there that, and a little flyer about our Rotary Club that went home for all the parents to see. So again, we were able to reach out to the community. And again, a district grant, engaging our Rotarians, and really, really a great way to collaborate with another agency in our community. So again, working hand in hand with our police department. Another aspect of growing Rotary and our strategic plan is to increase our impact. And this is where our work with polio is so important. And when I talk about polio, sometimes I'll have Rotarians say to me, "Oh, young people don't care about polio. They don't even know what it is. I don't know why we're still focusing on this." But I will tell you, if you talk to the millennials or the under, so everybody's younger than me, but the under 40s, under 30s, the 20 somethings, and you say, "Would you like to be part of eradicating a disease?" They are all over that, folks. They want to be there and to be part of the history of eradicating a disease, and which in our case for Rotary is polio. I had the opportunity in 2017 to be able to travel to India and to participate in one of the national immunization days. And we're going to see some pictures here of that in a minute, I hope. Dave? Pardon? There we go. I was stationed at the location in Delhi, and it was the home of a Rotary Club. There they have they have buildings, and they have a facility where their Rotary Club meets, and a lot of their Rotary activities go on. So they have a vocational training center as part of this site, and this is where they regularly hold their national immunization days. Now, this gentleman came up to me prior to this picture and starting talking to me in Hindi. Now, I will tell you straight out, I know absolutely no Hindi. And I can tell you for sure he knew no English. So here were the two of us. He was going 90 miles an hour in Hindi, and I just kept pointing to the banner behind me, pointing to that banner, pointing to my yellow vest that had the rotary wheel, the two drops, the baby. So we were doing all this sign language stuff, pointing, gesturing. Um, all of a sudden, he hopped on his bicycle and rode away. Now, when I went back into the compound area, when it was my turn, when I rotated back in, I said to the group, I hope I have not offended this man. I have no idea what I really communicated to him. I hope and pray that I did not make any offensive gestures. Uh, I said, I think he understood that this was where you could get the drops of polio. I said, I just really hope everything's okay. About 30 minutes, he came back on a scooter, and you can see his son in the background. He was holding this baby. Now, again, you'll notice no helmets, um, no safety seats. He was holding this baby, riding side saddle on a scooter in Delhi. And he walked up to me and he handed me this little girl. He handed me his granddaughter. And I was really taken back. Now, I wish I could tell you that I was successful in giving you those two drops, but this little girl was bound and determined she was not going to open her mouth for me. Now, we thank goodness we had folks there that did these drops. They were paid staff, and they knew how to get her to open her lips so that we could get those two drops in there. But I was holding her, and afterwards, I thought about this. We took this picture of this grandfather who, I'll never see again. But as I reflect on that, I think, okay, here's a man who looks nothing like me. I'm the fair-haired, white-skinned, redhead woman. Here's a man in brown. We don't speak the same language. We different cultures. But he trusted me. He gave me his granddaughter. And why did he do that? He did that because of that vest I had on and that rotary wheel. He knew that this was the location where Rotarians every single year gave out those polio drops. This was the place where he knew that his little girl was going to be safe and that her life was going to be better because of us. So it didn't matter what color my skin was. It didn't matter that I was a woman, and in India, that's a big deal. It didn't matter that we couldn't speak the same language. I had on that rotary wheel, and he could trust me, and he knew that we were going to do something important. So I was able, never in a million years did I ever think I'd be able to say this, but I was able to save this little girl from that dreadful polio virus. I'm a teacher, always will be. And to think that I saved a child's life is pretty overwhelming. And the only reason that I can say that is because I'm a Rotarian, because I'm part of this organization that's worldwide. So that happened on the day one. Now I could have gone home after that and my Rotary journey would be complete. But the next day it got even better. And so the next day we did something that on the NID days is called a mop-up. And that's where you go into a community where they've had the station set up like this one, but you go door to door. So we'll look at the picture associated with that one. And that particular day, I had the opportunity to, and I was successful this time, to to be able to put 2 drops of the polio vaccine into this little boy's mouth. But it brought me back to the story of where this all began in the Philippines, in Manila, when RI President Jim Bomar gave those first 2 polio drops to a little girl. And the whole time he was giving those drops to that little girl who was squirming and worming and crying, she, like the baby from the day before for me, she wasn't going to have anything to do with it. But the mom was there. They'd been waiting in line. And so Jim finally got those 2 drops into this little girl's mouth. And the mother said to him, "Thank you, Rotary," in her very broken English. So the whole time this is going on, Jim's feeling something pulling on his pant leg, or as he says, pulling on his britches. And he looks down and here's this little boy, dirty, covered in dirt, mud, but he's paralyzed from polio. And the little boy looks up to him and he says to Jim Bomar, "Thank you, thank you, thank you, Rotary, my sister." What Jim realized was that he had just given those 2 polio drops to this little boy who was paralyzed with polio. He had just given the little boy's sister the polio vaccine. So when I look at this picture, I call this my Jim Bomar moment. I mean, look at that dad. He is smiling from ear to ear. The little brother, he's not pulling on my pant leg, but he is clearly happy. He knows something that's happened for his sibling. He's not sure what, but he knows his father's happy. I'm clearly over the moon. Probably the only one in this picture that's not happy is this little one. But I have to tell you, I know, someday this little one's going to be happy because he got the 2 drops of polio vaccine. So this is my Jim Bomar moment. And I'm saying, only because of Rotary could this have happened. Only because of Rotary can I be part of history. Could I be part of eradicating a disease? Now, and I know that not everyone can go to India or to Pakistan. Nobody can go to Afghanistan, but to administer these drops where we're still giving around the vaccine around the world. But there are things that we can do. And this is how we grow our Rotary Foundation. So I'm going to talk a little bit about money, even though John Germ says it's not about the money, it's what we do with it. But I'm going to talk to you a little bit about it because it's made all of those things I've talked about previously possible. So you can give to the annual fund or to polio. And I would encourage all of you as presidents, elect of your club, to go and do Rotary Direct. I call it the George Foreman of giving. You set it and you forget it. And you can do it online, and you can do a monthly contribution. You can do a quarterly contribution. You can do a one-time a year contribution. But you just put it on your credit card. And, for me, and, the thing that Steve likes is, hey, we get miles for those contributions that we put on our credit cards. So give to the annual fund. Give to polio. The trustees have asked every club to give $1,500 to polio. If every single club gave the $1,500 to polio, we would easily meet our goal, our match with the Bill and Melinda Gates. So I want to encourage you as a club to think about making that commitment. And as an individual, as a leader of your organization, have this be the year that you say, I'm personally going to give something to polio. I'm personally going to continue to give to the annual fund, or perhaps consider increasing it to, a larger monthly gift, or the Paul Harris Society. Maybe it's the year you become a major donor, but really lead by example by giving to our annual fund and to polio. Participate in a global grant. Now you may say, oh, my club, we've never done one of these. I'm not sure how to do it. partner up with another club, reach out to your district foundation chair, your district governor, and say, is something going on that we can be part of, that we can piggyback on so we can learn about this? So participating in those global grants, really touching other parts of the world. I think we heard President-elect Shaker talk about the world. We're all part of this world, and this global grants is a great way to get involved. Again, your district grant, for some folks, they want it to be local. They want it to happen in their backyard, and a district grant is a great way to do that. I hope I've given you some things to think about. And then plan a special event for World Polio Day, which is Sunday, October 24th, 2021. I hope by then we're able to get out and about and do some things and meet in person. What a great opportunity to do a fundraiser for polio. And that helps you get to that $1,500 goal. But most important, have fun while you're doing it, because that's the way you're going to increase your impact. You're going to expand our reach, and you're going to enhance our engagement, is when you have fun doing that. And so finally, I want to leave you with our vision statement, because this is the overarching statement for what we do as Rotarians. And I just want to read it to you, because I think it's so important that together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. And I believe that it's the change that happens in each and every one of us that's what makes Rotary what it is, and why we serve to change lives. Thanks so much.
Your story is inspirational, and it shows us just how powerful Rotary can be in the world. And we truly, truly appreciate your message. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Roger.